Hey y'all, it's Paris and I'm back with another video. So today I just wanted to give you guys some comfort for your wilderness season. Comfort for your wilderness season, okay? So I'm going to be coming from Exodus chapter 14 and then I'm going to skip to Isaiah chapter 35. So starting at verse 11 in Exodus chapter 14, it says, "Then they turned against Moses and complained, 'Why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves for us in Egypt? Why did you make us leave? Didn't we tell you to leave us alone while we were still in Egypt? Our Egyptian slavery was far better than dying out here in the wilderness.' But Moses told the people, 'Don't be afraid. Just stand where you are and watch the Lord rescue you. The Egyptians that you see today will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. You won't have to lift a finger in defense.' Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving.'" So I'm going to stop right there, okay? Before we go into Isaiah chapter 35, I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to kind of break down Isaiah chapter 14, right? So, um, I don't know your situation as far as you being in the wilderness, but let me just say that God may have brought you out of Egypt. Egypt represents slavery. Egypt represents a lot of labor. It represents, being mistreated. It represents just basically just a lot of physical abuse, or maybe just a lot of work. Okay, you just doing a lot, you're getting mistreated, just a lot of work, right? So with that being said, God basically got you out of that, right? He got you out of Egypt. Now you're in the wilderness. Okay, the wilderness is basically the place in between Egypt and your promised land. Okay, the wilderness is basically the place between Egypt and your promised land. All right, so you're right in the middle. So with that being said, God has just released the Israelites from Egypt. Okay, they're no longer in slavery. They're no longer, being mistreated. But now they're at the point to where they have to trust God, okay? Because if you keep reading, you'll read about the Israelites and how, they had to trust God for manna, how they had to, basically trust God because they had to cross the Red Sea. And so they didn't know that God was going to basically work through Moses and split the Red Sea, right? Because that was how they were going to get to their promised land. They were going to have to cross the Red Sea. And so they didn't see how basically they were going to get through the Red Sea, okay? Because the Egyptians were basically following them, okay? So you have to read this whole chapter, okay? Chapter 13 and chapter 14 and so on. But basically they were being chased after, okay? And so God was leading them to go through the Red Sea. And so at this point, they're thinking, "God, why did you bring us here just to die?" They're thinking that they don't have any hope because they don't see how they can get through the Red Sea. Okay? Basically, God has to do the impossible for them to get to the promised land. And so that's the same thing for you guys, okay? You're in the wilderness, but God has to he has to basically do the impossible just to get you to the other side. So with that being said, you may be like the Israelites. You are complaining. You're like, "God, like it was so much better in Egypt. Even though you were being mistreated, you feel like it was so much better because it was familiar to you." And maybe, like with the Israelites, what they were talking about was even though they were being mistreated by the Egyptians, even though they were getting beaten by the Egyptians, they were eating really good. Okay, they were eating some good food. And now here they are being obedient to God, and God is giving them manna. Okay, God is giving them manna to eat on. All right. And so with that being said, it's like they're doing things differently. They're in a new season now and they don't like it. And so they start to complain. And so I don't know about you guys, but I have been just like the Israelites, okay? God has basically moved me from Egypt. Now I'm in the wilderness, okay? Remember, the wilderness represents the place in between Egypt and your promised land, right? And so anyways, basically I am waiting to get into my promised land, and I've been complaining lately because I'm like, "God, before you moved me, I had a whole apartment everything was cool, okay? Yes, I may not have, liked my job anymore, but other than that, like, I had an apartment, all right? I was only paying $500 a month. Things were good. Things were good. But the thing is, I was also getting mistreated at my job, okay? I was also getting mistreated at my job. And so it may have looked like, oh, Paris, you had it all good. But I was also getting mistreated. And so God had to change my mindset. Like, Paris, you were in slavery. You think that was good. I can do better. I can do better than that. Because that's what I was missing, y'all. I was like, God, like, now I'm living in the Airbnb, but I had my own apartment then. Before you moved me, I had my own apartment. Okay, so now I'm starting to sound like the Israelites because I'm starting to complain. I'm starting to go back to, I'm starting to think about the familiar place that I was in, okay? And so I'm like, things were so much better. Things were so much better, Lord. Like, anyways, so with that being said, you may be like me. You may be like the Israelites right now. Like, maybe God has told you to move, or maybe, God has told you to leave that job, or God has told you to do something. And now you're in a position to where you're like, you have to trust God for every single moment. And you don't know, like, where, the next provision is going to come from, like, you don't know how something's going to work out, because God literally has to do a miracle. God literally has to split that Red Sea, okay? Because in order for you to get to the other side, you got to go through that Red Sea. There's no way around it. You have to go through it. And so God has to do that miracle. So with that being said, it says, but Moses told the people, don't be afraid, okay? So when it comes to us getting to the other side, we cannot be afraid, okay? We cannot give up. We cannot give in and say, well, things were better, okay? Maybe things did seem better, but we have to keep pushing. We cannot be afraid. We have to trust God and know that he knows what he's doing. He knows best. He knows, okay? He was the one who placed us in this situation. So with that being said, we have to trust him. We have to trust him and keep moving, okay? We have to keep moving, keep pushing, and keep trusting that he knows best. And it says, just stand where you are and watch the Lord rescue you. The Egyptians that you see today will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. You won't have to lift a finger in your defense, okay? So we already know that God basically defended the Israelites, okay? The Egyptians, like I said, you guys have to go back and read this for yourself just to get some context. But the Egyptians were chasing after the Israelites. And so they were worried because they thought that they were going to die. But God ended up rescuing the Israelites, okay? He ended up saving the Israelites, right? And so it says, then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people, get moving. That's where I want to really focus on right now. Get moving. There's a lot of us, we're praying, we're like, God, I need this, or God, I need you to provide. God, I need you to do this. But God is waiting on you. God is waiting on you. He's waiting on you to move. God is saying, get moving. What are you waiting on? Go ahead and apply to that job. Go ahead and apply to that apartment. Go ahead and do what you know that you need to do. What are you waiting on? What are you afraid of? God is waiting on you. You've done enough praying. Get to moving. Get to moving, okay? God is waiting on you, all right? God is waiting on you. That you've done enough praying. God is waiting on you at this point. So you got to make some moves, okay? Some of us don't have what we're praying for because you ain't did the things that you need to do, okay? You know what you need to do, but you haven't done it yet. So you need to get moving. In order for you to get what you're asking for, you need to get moving. So if we go to Isaiah chapter 35, let me find it real quick. If we go to Isaiah chapter 35, okay, and it says, starting at verse 1, even the wilderness will rejoice in those days. The desert will blossom with flowers. Yes, there will be an abundance of flowers and singing with joy. The deserts will become green. The deserts will become as green as the mountains of Lebanon, as lovely as Mount Carmel's pastures, and the plain of Sharon. There the Lord will display his glory, the splendor of our God. With this news, strengthen those who have tired hands and encourage those who have weak knees. Say to those who are afraid, be strong and do not fear, for your God is coming to destroy your enemies. He is coming to save you. And when he comes, he will open the eyes of the blind and unstop the ears of the deaf. The lame will leap like a deer, and those who cannot speak will shout and sing. Springs will gush forth in the wilderness, and streams will water the desert. The parched ground will become a pool, and springs of water will satisfy the thirsty land. Marsh grass and reeds and rushes will flourish where desert jackals once lived. Okay, so God is basically giving you comfort in the wilderness. Okay, we already talked about the wilderness. We already know what the wilderness is. The wilderness is the place between Egypt and your promised land, right? And so in the wilderness, okay, things are dry. Things are dry. Okay, I don't know about you, but things have been dry for me lately. Like, even though God has been blessing me in my wilderness, but it just feels a little dry. Okay, the air is a little dry. Like, the atmosphere feels dry. So with that being said, when it says even the wilderness will rejoice in those days, you basically are the wilderness in Isaiah chapter 35. You are the wilderness. It says the wilderness will rejoice in those days. Okay, so you're going to rejoice. It says the desert will blossom with flowers. All right, that dry place that you're in, you're going to start seeing you're going to start seeing things happening. Okay, you're going to start, feeling like, okay, like God is doing something. Okay, even though I'm in the wilderness, like I can see that God is doing something. Like there's water, there's flowers, like there's things going on. Okay, and so it says, yes, there will be an abundance of flowers and singing and joy. The deserts will become as green as the mountains of Lebanon. Okay, so again, the desert, the wilderness, okay, it looks dry right now, but things are going to turn around for you. Okay, things are going to turn around for you. You just have to stick it out and trust God. Okay, remember that when it rains, it doesn't rain always. When it storms, it doesn't storm always. And that's what God is saying in the desert, in this wilderness. Okay, it looks dry right now, but it's going to become a whole garden of flowers. Okay, it's going to be beautiful. You're not even going to remember it being a wilderness. Okay, so just know that this is only temporary, but it's going to become, your wilderness is going to become a beautiful garden. And it says, there the Lord will display his glory, the splendor of our God. Okay, God is going to display his glory in the midst of the wilderness. Okay, people are going to know about your story. Okay, when you tell them like, yeah, I was in this situation, but now look at me, now look at my situation. You can't even tell I was in the wilderness. Okay, with this news, strengthen those who have tired hands and encourage those who have weak knees. Okay, God is trying to give us encouragement. Say to those who are afraid, be strong and do not fear, for your God is coming to destroy your enemies. Self-explanatory, right? He is coming to save you, just like he was coming to save the Israelites. And when he comes, he will open the eyes of the blind and unstop the ears of the deaf. The lame will leap like a deer, and those who cannot speak will shout and sing. Okay, so maybe you've been through a lot. Maybe you've been through so much, you have become like numb. You have become numb. You don't even want to speak. You don't even want to, talk. You don't want to read the Bible no more. You don't want to listen to people no more. You don't want to listen to prophetic words. Like you're so numb at this point. And so God is saying like, basically, if you cannot speak, you're gonna speak now. You're gonna sing, you're gonna shout, you're gonna rejoice, because God is changing your situation. Okay, he's giving you comfort in your wilderness. Okay, he's giving you comfort in your wilderness. He's making those dry areas, he's making them beautiful again. He's blossoming them again. He's putting flowers in that wilderness again, in that desert. Okay, and it says, the parched ground will become a pool and springs of water will satisfy the thirsty land. Y'all, he's watering these dry lands. Okay, he's making these dry grounds beautiful. Okay, things that were dry, he's watering them. It says, the springs of water will satisfy the thirsty land. All right, you have been lacking. Okay, God is satisfying the things that you need. Okay, you have to trust God. You have to know that God will do things in His own timing. So just wait. Don't give up. Don't give in. But God is going to change that desert. He's going to change you being in the wilderness. Okay, and so again, with the Israelites, in order for them to get to the other side, in order for them to get to the promised land, they had to go through the Red Sea, okay? They had to go through it. So that means that you have to go through your situation. You can't get around it. God is not going to take you out of it. You have to go through it, all right? So I hope that I have encouraged you. And basically, if you guys need any coaching sessions with me, please go ahead and book them. All right. All you have to do is email me. All of my information is going to be in my description box. Okay. All of my information is going to be in my description box. And speaking of emailing me, let me be clear, y'all. I don't mind you guys emailing me, but my emailing is mainly only for, if you want to book a session, and it's also for, like if you just want to say something brief, okay? These long emails, I appreciate y'all, but I have to say that it's a lot, okay? I'm a life coach, but I'm not a therapist, all right? And I'm also not God. I'm not even gonna pretend to be God. So with that being said, if you have a long list of things that you need to vent to, I encourage you to either talk it out with God or actually like get some real help, okay? Because I am not a therapist, okay? I am a life coach. That's all I am. So anyways, if you want to book a life coaching session with me, go ahead and do that. I am still doing my special, okay? I went ahead and extended it. So go ahead and get your booking sessions out of the way, all right? So I'll see you guys in my next video. Talk to you guys later. Bye, y'all.